my fair friends. I'm Ruby Ruse, this is Baby Bunny, and welcome to Fairy Fortunes. Today I am continuing my series, The ABCs of Mythology, which is a 2019 video challenge. I will have a link to this video challenge in the description box, and if you are participating in an ABCs of Mythology video challenge or any other 2019 challenge, I hope that you will leave a link to your video in the comments below so that we can all share in our knowledge of mythology. Today, hello Bing, this is Bing again. Bing was featured in another video. So she is a very lovely and friendly cat, so she probably is going to be a guest star of the video many times today. So as I was saying, today C is for cultural appropriation as it applies to mythology. Now, I do want to have a disclosure statement before I go into the topic of cultural appropriation. I am not by any means advocating the theft and robbery of indigenous cultures. So please keep that in mind as we go forward. However, I do think that mythology is a greater human construct that is a topic worth discussing. So I hope you will stay tuned and follow me throughout the video. And I just wanted to point out that I do have notes here today. And I will be every so often looking down at my notes so that I don't forget anything that I want to say today. So, moving forward, let's open with a definition of what cultural appropriation is. Now, I found this particular definition from dictionary.com. And according to them, they say that cultural appropriation is the act of adopting elements of an outside, often minority culture, including knowledge, practices, and symbols, without understanding or respecting the original culture and context. And going back to my opening disclosure statement, I think that that is really the key word here, is respect. It's definitely all about respect, because I think that, as I'm going to explain in the video, that humanity is a shared experience. And I don't think it's so much the appreciation of a traditional story from a different culture. I don't think it's adopting necessarily a practice from a different culture. I think it's about respecting those practices and where they might have come from. I think that is key. So if someone has found a traditional story that for whatever reason resonates with them, or adopts a practice that is completely meaningful to them, I don't think that it's someone else's place to shame that person or forbid that person from a practice that has a deep and important emotional and spiritual meaning for that person. So it's really all about respect, in my opinion. Now, the reason that I'm talking about a cultural appropriation is because, especially in modern times, there seems to be this movement that stories and practices belong to one culture and one culture only, and that if you are not from that culture, if you do not have a genetic tie to that culture, that you are forbidden from those stories and those practices. And as I just said, I don't think that that really is what humanity should be trying to accomplish. I personally think that to some extent cultural appropriation is going to happen, and in fact it's probably a cultural phenomenon. So my demonstrations of that particular theory, I have two books on the table here for you today. I know I know you're shocked. I'm holding a Holy Bible, and as you can see, I'm not bursting into flame, nor am I in any way adverse to holding this document. As you can see, it's in good repair. I haven't damaged it in any way, so it's not causing damage to me, and I am not causing damage to it. Contrary to popular belief, fairies are not in any way affected by the Christian religion in any adverse manner. So if you are Christian, I think that, and that is working for you and that is meaning to you, I think that is beautiful and wonderful, and I hope that that continues to bring you meaning and joy in your life. However, not gonna keep me necessarily away from you. But if you ask me to go, usually I will go. So, but holding this book up isn't gonna work. I just thought I'd share that. So I have the Holy Bible here for you today, and the second text that I have brought for you today is called the Epic of Gilgamesh. Now, if you're not familiar with this book, or these collections of stories, I should say, this is a very ancient story. It is purported to be one of the most ancient documents of mythology that has been found in human culture. And it is considerably older than the Bible. Now, the reason that I brought up this story is that Gilgamesh is a mythic hero, and actually he has quite a few adventures that are not unlike the adventures of Greek mythology's Hercules. So those stories have a lot in common, and if you are not familiar with the Epic of Gilgamesh, I really encourage you to pick up a copy. I found this one at my local library, as you can see. Yes, I go to the library. Libraries are actually a really great place to search for fairies. Keep that in mind. Note for another topic. Anyway, so I have highlighted a couple of pages that I would like to share with you. So in one of Gilgamesh's epic adventures, he meets a man called, I'm going to look down at my notes and forgive me if I butcher this ancient name. Gilgamesh goes to meet Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim. That's a fun name to say. So he goes to visit Utnapishtim, and this esteemed gentleman tells him a story of his encounter with the gods. Now, it happens that there was a terrible storm, and one of Utnapishtim's gods actually comes to him and says to him, "O man of Shurpak, son of Ubra-Tutu, tear down your house and build a boat. Abandon possessions and look for life. Despise worldly goods and save your soul alive." Tear down your house, I say, and build a boat. These are the measurements of the bark as you shall build her. Let her beam equal length. Let her deck be roofed like a vault that covers the abyss. Then take up into the boat the seed of all living creatures. Interesting. So Utnapishtim actually does go ahead and build this boat, and there is a terrible, terrible flood that destroys most of humanity. And as the storm is waning, Utnapishtim continues on his journey, and he gathers as many animals as he can. And the story continues. I looked for land in vain, but 14 leagues distance there appeared a mountain, and there the boat grounded on the mountain of Nistor. The boat held fast. She held fast and did not budge. One day she held, and a second day on the mountain of Nistor she held fast and did not budge. A third day and a fourth day she held fast on the mountain and did not budge. A fifth day and a sixth day she held fast on the mountain day. When the seventh day dawned, I loosed a dove and let her go. So is this story sounding familiar to anyone? If it's not, let me refer back to the Holy Bible. And in the story is one of the stories of Genesis, of course, is the story of Noah. The Lord then said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 2 of every kind of unclean animal, a male and his mate, and also 7 of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature that I have made." And as you remember in the story of Noah, he also releases a dove to signify the end of the storm and the land that Noah finds and reestablishes humankind. So I think that this, oh my, is a cultural appropriation of this. It's a cultural appropriation because they have taken almost an identical story and made it a part of their own culture. Now, as I said, the element that marks a abuse, if you will, of cultures is a lack of respect. So, is there a lack of respect in this case? I don't think that there is, and I think that that's what's occurring throughout humanity, is that this story about this great flood and the need to start over, if you will, has such greater meaning to all of humanity. It's about understanding that you've made a mistake and trying to fix that mistake. It's about coming to an insurmountable obstacle, this great flood, this idea that you yourself alone have to chart the waters and find a new place in a completely different world. That is a story that resonates throughout humanity, no matter what culture one might belong to. So I don't think that this is a lack of respect. I think that this is an example of meaning that's been transferred from one culture to another. Now, another example that I have of cultural appropriation is actually in the reverse, if you can believe it or not. Mexico City recently had a huge parade for the Day of the Dead. They had not done that before. And why did they suddenly, out of the blue, start having this parade? Well, they were inspired by a fictional story. This is true. You can look it up. I will have the link below in the description box, so please check out this story. It just so happens that a recent James Bond film was released, and one of the first scenes in the movie takes place in Mexico City on the Day of the Dead, and there's this amazing and beautiful parade that was 100% completely fictional. But some of the government officials from Mexico saw that movie and were inspired to appropriate that parade into their culture. So they were inspired in the reverse. I think what that was, again, you could have argued that the people who made the James Bond film were disrespecting an indigenous culture by showcasing this parade that had nothing to do with the Day of the Dead, really. But instead of people being angry about it, it actually inspired people to recreate that in reality. So I don't think that they made any disrespect. They wanted to show something meaningful. And I think that that is key. That's what mythology represents. Mythology is a way to showcase meaning. So another element that I wanted to talk about in the context of cultural appropriation is that I'm not sure that cultural appropriation is really the overarching drive of people. I don't think that the people who wrote the story of Noah into the Holy Bible, when they were inspired, obviously, by the Epic of Gilgamesh, I don't think that they were like, we're going to rape and rob this culture, we're going to rape and rob this story of Gilgamesh, and we're going to claim it for our own. I don't think that that's what happened. I don't think that that was a lack of respect. I think it was about the meaning of the story, of overcoming that great obstacle, of wanting to start over. I think that those are the messages that were so inspiring that they adopted it into their culture. But here's another idea about that. Now, it's not just the Christian religion and the ancient religion of, I believe it's Mesopotamia, that the Epic of Gilgamesh came from. If I'm incorrect in that, please somebody feel free to leave a comment in the description, in the comment below. But I'm pretty certain it's Mesopotamia. Actually, Sumerian. I believe it's from Sumeria, this story. Anyway, moving forward. What if it's about a collective unconscious? Now, there was actually he was one of the fathers of modern psychology today. Carl Jung actually was the first pioneer of this theory of the collective unconscious. Now, the main ideas of the collective unconscious is that humans actually inherit ancestral knowledge. And Carl Jung actually believed that the similarities of religions around the world were a reflection not necessarily of cultural appropriation, but of the collective unconscious. So maybe C is for collective unconscious. So the idea is that we are all a part of the earth. We all have access to this same collective unconscious that flows through the entire living earth and all the living creatures that are on it. So these stories of floods, of starting over, of the genesis of the world, of the birth of the earth, these stories are not so much a part of one particular culture, but these themes, these meanings, these traditional mythologies, these powerful stories that resonate with all of humanity, the reason that they are similar, the reason that we see these same stories appearing again and again and over again with even names that are similar, may be in fact due to the collective unconscious, in that we are all one, we are all part of a greater whole. And that is why our stories resonate with each other. But I do want to finish this video with going back to the word respect. Respect is definitely the key here. So not only should we respect cultures that are different from the ones that we were raised in, but I think we need to respect the individual as well. If these stories resonate, if these practices are meaningful, provided that this person is conducting their practice with respect, perhaps we need to respect them as well. Because cultural appropriation is going to happen. And in fact, we need to study other cultures. We need to be open to learning and understanding. Because the world is much, much smaller than we could ever suppose. And if there is a collective unconscious, it means that we all share it. So with that, have a very full day.